Welcome to Smart Women Talk. This is your host, Katana Abbott. I'm a midlife millionaire coach and a certified financial planner, and I search the world for smart women and a few good men, including best-selling authors and thought leaders who are on that leading edge. So join us for conversations on money, business, health, and inspiration so you can live with more purpose, passion, and prosperity. Hello, everyone. This is Katana Abbott, and I want to welcome you to Smart Women Talk. Today, we have a returning guest. She's been here several times, and she is a #1 New York Times bestselling author and world-renowned transformational teacher, Marci Shimoff. And we are talking about living in the miracle zone because we can all use more miracles. This whole month, our theme has been miracles. And actually, my whole year has been miracles because I've actually been in Marci's program for 2 years now. I'm just finishing up my second year. So we're going to be talking about what the #1 block to miracles is and how it might be showing up in your life. We're going to talk about how you can be open to happiness, to love, and miracles that you want in your life, and the key to raising your desirability set point so that you can live in the miracle zone. Marci, welcome to Smart Women Talk. It's so good to have you back. I think it had to be 10 years ago when you first came on the show, and I believe that you were launching the Happy for No Reason book.
Yeah, Katana, we go way, way back, and I always love getting to be with you. And time flies when you're having fun. We've been on many great journeys together, and I love that you're part of your Year of Miracles program. And I love how your work is all about helping people live their best lives. So we're going to have a blast today.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really exciting to see so many women, especially out there, doing this type of work, helping inspire others and teach them. And I think the type of program you have, though, is so amazing because you're bringing people from all over the world and you're inspiring them to be their best and to know that this idea of miracles, it's real. I wanted to ask you a little bit about your journey because every time we have someone on the show, I think it's so important to find out, how did they fall into the work they're doing today? It seems like there's always some kind of triggering event or some experience. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about your life and how you ended up doing this.
Yeah. So I am the last person in the world that you would think of as speaking about how to live a miraculous life, because my life did not feel miraculous. I was born depressed. I was depressed my whole growing up years. My solution to depression in my childhood and teenage years was sugar, and that was not a great solution. It didn't last. I became a sugar addict. I was probably about 40 pounds, 35 pounds heavier than I am now. And so when I was in my 20s, I thought, I want to live a good life. I want to be happy. And I haven't figured it out yet. So in my 20s, I did what a lot of people do. I set goals for myself. And I figured that once I reached those goals, that's it. I'd be happy, right? And I'll share with you my 5 goals because I think people can relate to these. I wanted to have a successful career helping people. Mm-hmm. I wanted to have a wonderful husband or life partner. I wanted fabulous friends, a comfortable home, and the equivalent of Halle Berry's body. Now I got 4 out of the 5. I don't have Halle Berry's body, but I have a very healthy body for which I'm grateful. And I worked really hard to get all my ducks in a row, to have all that stuff working. And it was. And I remember in 1998, I had that turning point moment. And I had at the time 3 books of mine in the top 5 on the New York Times bestseller list at the same time. And I had just finished giving a speech to 8,000 people. I had autographed 5,432 books. I felt like an author rock star. And I should have been on top of the world. And I remember after autographing that last book, I went upstairs. It was in a hotel, went up to a big convention center. And I went up to my hotel room and walked over to the window, looked out. It was in Chicago, looked out at Lake Michigan, beautiful view. I took it in, I turned around, and I fell onto the bed and I burst into tears. And the tears were those kind of, oh my God, I'm at the end of the rope here because I just have everything supposedly working and I'm still miserable. I still feel that unhappiness in my heart, that emptiness in my heart, and I got to figure this thing out. So I actually went head on into researching happiness. And I interviewed all the researchers on happiness, and I interviewed what I call 100 unconditionally happy people. And I started doing what they told me to do, what they were doing. And it worked. It was like, I couldn't believe it. I started fairly quickly becoming happier and happier. And I was so excited about this that I ended up writing the book Happy for No Reason. And I went on and I taught thousands and thousands of people about how you can easily become happier. But then another turning point came. And in about 2013, I started waking up every morning going, oh my God, my life is miraculous. Like amazing things would just show up for me during the day, like the right people would show up at the right time and opportunities were coming out of nowhere and just miracles were happening. I felt like I was in the flow. And I thought, you know what? I think there's a system to this. I think there's a way that people can get themselves into the flow. And that's when I started teaching the Year of Miracles programs. And since then, we've just had amazing stories, including, I know you've got some stories. And so just like you can teach people to become happier, you can also teach people how to get in the miracle zone, is what I call it.
Okay. People hear miracle and then they think of like a magic wand or a big poof. Yeah, are miracles really real?
Yeah. And I started doing all the reading of stories for Chicken Soup for the Soul books. She read 20,000 stories. And I'd say a quarter of the stories, 25% of the stories are about miracles, like what we would just all call a miracle. Mm-hmm. And it's where I went, these things really happen. And they've happened throughout recorded history. And a miracle can be something as small as I was just thinking about somebody and they called me. Yeah. Or it could be as big as I needed $5,420 to pay a bill and I got a check for $5,425.
Right.
Oh, so it's all forms. It could be a miracle healing. It could be a miracle of meeting somebody in a relationship. Things that you've been wanting for a long time, you just feel like you're in the zone. I call it the miracle zone. And I've seen it left and right for everybody. People who feel like they're down and out and life isn't working for them, and people who already feel like their life is working. We can all be in the miracle zone.
And Marci, can it happen very quickly?
That's the thing about miracles. They can happen like that. Yeah. And the thing about a miracle, let me define what I mean by the word miracle here, because I think that's important. Webster's dictionary calls a miracle a surprise and welcome event that can't be explained by science and that's often attributed to divine grace. Now, we can't create miracles. They're a gift of the divine. Wow. But what we can do is we can put ourselves in the flow of miracles, what I've called the miracle zone. We can create the conditions for miracles to flow into our lives. Synchronicities, all those things. We just set the conditions and life does the rest. And I've seen it happen, things happen like that for people.
Do you remember Deepak wrote a book, Spontaneous Fulfillment of Desire?
Exactly. Right? Exactly.
Oh, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. And a story that really stands out, and I may not have it right because it was quite a while ago, although it's still there on the shelf. I love that book. But he mentions, I think he wanted to interview someone. And his daughter said she was going to a party with somebody who knew that person. So he went with her. They went to the party. He got the address of the person and the phone number, I guess it was. And so he was driving in his car and he got in his cell phone and he called the number and the person answered. And he said, hey, listen, I'm in New York. I'd really like to meet you. And they said, where are you right now? And he said, I'm driving. I'm in New York. And they said, oh, so am I. And so he said, what is your address? Do you remember? And then they gave.
I don't remember. This is a great story.
And he looks up, he's there. So
that's a miracle. That's what we mean. It's just like a spontaneous, amazing fulfillment of a desire. And can I share one? Because you reminded me of one. One of the ones that I love the most was in, I think, one of my first Chicken Soup for the Soul books. And it was about a man named Marcel Sternberger. It happened in 1948. And every morning, he was from Hungary originally, and every morning he would take the same subway, the same train into work in New York. And this one morning, he didn't take that train. He went to go visit a friend who was sick, and he took a later train. And when we got in, there were no seats available except for one way over in a corner. So we went and sat in that seat in the corner. And he noticed that the man sitting next to him was reading a Hungarian newspaper. And so he started speaking to him in Hungarian, and they struck up this great conversation. And he found out that this man, whose name was Bela Paskin, had just arrived in America a few months earlier. He had been through many atrocities during the war. He had been sent away to somewhere in Russia, and his whole family was killed back in Hungary, and including his beloved wife. And when he came back from the war, he came back to find everyone gone. And he was devastated, and he decided to, a few years later, start a new life in America. So he had just arrived in America. And Marcel had said, oh, that's really interesting. And he said, what was your wife's name? And the guy said, my wife, she's dead, but her name is Maria. A week earlier, Marcel had been at a party and met a woman who'd had a similar story, and he found it so interesting. He'd written down her name and number and put it in his pocket. Oh. And he said to Bella, we've got to get off the train right now. We've got to make a phone call together. And so they got off the train at the next stop, ran to a payphone, and Marcel called the number that was on that piece of paper and said, what was your husband's name? And the woman said, my husband, he's been dead for a few years now, but his name was Bela Paskin. And he turned and handed the phone to Bella and said, you have to talk to your wife. You have to say hello. This is your wife. Oh, it happened on a Brooklyn subway. That's wow. Now, we aren't looking for miracles like that. We're looking for just getting the right job, the miracle of synchronicities happening. A miracle can also be moving from an unhappy state to a happy state, feeling greater self-love. We have all kinds and varieties of miracles, as you've seen in your Year of Miracles program. All kinds of miracles happen for people.
Well, and I think it's so important to write them down and record them. I have a miracles journal that I write down my miracles in there, but I do have some other miracles that I'm, aware of. And I think it's so important because they build our faith that we can actually manifest what we want in our lives. So I had a miracle. One of my first miracles that I really noticed that this was a miracle. It was just so simple. And it was nice because I happened to be with my husband and he got to witness it because he's like the, what is it? He always looks at the opposite. What is that word I'm looking at?
You mean the glass half full and glass half empty kind of?
But just he'll always challenge me on things. So
the devil's advocate.
The devil's advocate. That's what he was. And it's really good because it is good to be challenged. So we were in San Francisco and I worked with American Express Financial Advisors at that time. And we had just done this big conference there. And we took extra time and went to Napa on a wine tour. So we were all finished up. We had a case of wine. And you know what? We saw there was it was not taped. We could not take it with us. So I called the front desk. They said the only tape they had was Scotch tape. And I thought, oh my gosh. And the bus was out front because they were going to take us into the airport. And I thought, what am I going to do? And I said, you know what, Mark? I'm going to go downstairs and I'm going to manifest some packing tape. And he said, really? He says, I'm going to come with you and I'm going to watch you do that. So we both went down the hall. We got in the elevator. There was another couple there, and we looked at them and we said, "Oh, are you with the conference too?" And they said, "Yeah." And I said, "Oh, I see you've got a box." I said, "Do you have a box of wine?" And she said, "No, it's our costumes. We didn't go to the costume party." And I said, "Oh, darn, we need packing tape." And she said, "Really? I've got packing tape." And she reached into her backpack, unzipped it, and handed me the packing tape.
I love it.
They went downstairs, they got out of the elevator, the door closed, and we both screamed because that was just like faster than we could ever imagine. So what do you think of something like that? Because some would say, oh, it's a coincidence, but we had to get into the elevator at the same time. It had to be with that couple.
I think that the universe works in many mysterious and amazing ways. And when you tune into that flow, it's called being in the flow. You're in the flow, you run into the people that have exactly what you need. What I've seen is that it's a way of being. It builds on itself.
Mm-hmm.
You've probably noticed this, that once you start noticing the small miracles that happen, what we put our attention on grows stronger in our life.
Mm-hmm.
And when you notice the smaller miracles, they start happening more often, then they snowball, it becomes bigger, and you find yourself living in this place. That's not to say that we don't have challenges. Yes, we have challenges. Life, I believe, is partly to learn these wonderful life lessons that come from some of these challenges, but we have the things that show up to allow us to learn the lessons and to live in this state of grace.
Yeah. And it seems like the universe wants us to operate from here.
I believe it's the intention. I believe it is the way it's set up for us to live in that way. And there are some principles. Shall we get a little practical with people?
I think it'd be good.
Okay.
Are you going to give us some tips here?
I am going to give you some tips. I think I'm going to start with the biggest mistake that people make. Is that all right that we talk about that?
Yeah.
Because what I found is that that miracles are everywhere, but that we don't put ourselves in the flow of them. We actually block the flow of them. The biggest way we block the flow is through a lack of self-love, a lack of worthiness, a feeling as though, oh, I don't deserve that. Now, it's not conscious. It's very subconscious that we think, oh, either I don't deserve it, or I should have to work hard for it, or whatever. And I think it's been said that we can only receive gifts from people to the degree that we're willing to open to them. People only receive gifts if you're open to them. The universe is the same way. If you're not open to receiving the good stuff from the universe, you're pushing it away unconsciously. Mm-hmm. And that's what people do. They feel like they have a hard time receiving. When we don't have enough self-love, we have a hard time receiving. I'm going to give you a little quiz, and it's a 5-question quiz about how well you receive. How open are you to receiving? And it's just simple. So the first question is, do you receive compliments easily? So somebody gives you a compliment. Do you say thank you? Or do you say, oh, this old thing, I got it, whatever, 10 years ago, or whatever? Do you turn away the compliment? Mm-hmm. Number 2, do you receive gifts easily? Do you say yes and open to gifts? Number 3, do you receive offers of help? If people help you, do you feel like it's okay that you have to quickly go back and reciprocate and do twice as much for them as they did for you? Mm-hmm. Number 4, are you okay to even ask for help? Mm. Can you even open to asking for help? Wow. And number 5, do you feel like you have to work hard? This was mine. Do you feel like you have to work really hard, or it's not okay for you to get things? Like you feel guilty for receiving things. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to add on a 6th that's a little bonus. And that is, do you downplay the good things that you have because you don't want to make other people feel bad? Wow. So if you do any of those, you are subconsciously pushing away your good. So do you do any of those?
I don't think I do anymore. I don't,
Congratulations.
yeah, I don't think because 2 years in your course. And I have to say, a lot of us, we have a hard time with accepting gifts, right, from other people. And the compliments, it's so easy to brush it off or to say, oh, you're right. Oh, I got it on sale, to discount it. But
Right.
it's so beautiful. I never related these to being open to miracles, though. And I don't think most people would, but
yeah, and the reason is,
right?
there's subtle ways that we push away our good, even the small good. So what we want to do is we want to become expert at letting in the good.
Yeah.
So here's what I recommend people do. Over the next week, pay attention to ways that you push away your good. Somebody offers to help you here, somebody gives you this there, and you think, oh, I better quickly give back to them more. No, just receive. Practice being a great receiver. So notice where you're starting to push away your good. Take a deep breath, open and receive it, and be grateful and celebrate. The more we're grateful and celebrate what we've received, the more good we get. You know how it is when you do something for somebody and they're very grateful for it? You want to do more. It's that way in the universe. The more we're grateful for what we have, what we appreciate appreciates.
Yeah.
When we appreciate what's coming our way, it grows even bigger.
You have also brought in so many people in to join you in this program. And how did you meet all these people? How did you select them to come in and be part of this?
One of the things that's always been high on my list to manifest is amazing people, because the research shows that we become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with.
Yeah.
And I've just always, I want to attract people who inspire me. And that's what's happened over the years. And I am co-leading the Year of Miracles program with Dr. Sue Morter and Lisa Garr, two people who are dear friends of mine and who inspire me so much, and who live in the miracle zone and come at it from a different angle. Sue's a doctor. She has the whole health angle of how to help our bodies be more in the miracle zone. And Lisa has her own angle. She's very into the brain science and all. And then we have guests, because I believe that what I know is that we all can learn from each other. Right. And so I found people in my life that just inspire me. Lynn Twist talks about the soul of money and financial freedom and miracles, and just remarkable people. Martha Beck and Jack Canfield and Lisa Nichols and Michael Beckwith and Marianne Williamson, all who come in from different angles to speak about living a miraculous life and to teach me. I bring in the people that I want to learn from. And I think there's a really amazing energy right now on the planet. Clearly, we look around us and there's a lot of hard stuff going on. And there's also a lot of light. There's also a lot of consciousness. I believe it's a time of consciousness opening up more and more. And that's really part of what puts us in the miracle zone, and surrounding ourselves with people who are also wanting to live more and more in the miracle zone is important, because we're collective of energy. The more the merrier in terms of creating a vortex of energy to live more and more miraculous life. And so one tip is to everybody is find yourself at least 5 people to surround yourself with that really bring you support. And I know didn't you have an experience of that?
Yeah. And I feel like it's so important for us to raise our vibration to the highest level humanly possible every single day with everything that's around us. And then we can attract what we really want into our lives. So when you were saying that's what I was thinking. And the exercise with the gratitude every single day, staying in this high gratitude. And I do want you to talk to everyone about your program, because it has really transformed my life. And I took it the first 2 years ago. And this last year, I decided that I wanted to take it again, but this time I was going to bring my own friends to come and because you create, tell us about the support too, because you have these groups. So we not only get the lessons and then all the meditations and different tools to use to keep us focused on whatever the monthly theme is. But then you let us get into these breakout groups. It's actually like a little mastermind. So I thought,
yeah, they're called miracles groups.
Miracles groups, yes. And I brought in my coach and then two of my clients who now are like two of my very best friends. And it was a weird kind of thing for me to put together this group, but oh my gosh, it made it even so much more powerful because we never would have gotten together and worked on the exercises if it wasn't something that we had been given as an assignment. Mm-hmm. And so we've really had a chance to grow together and to hold each other accountable. So now we're coming to the end of the year and and you gave us we set up what our goals were for the beginning.
Yeah, the miracle intentions for the
miracle
year.
Intentions. I know.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's so exciting to get to the end of the year and have everybody sharing what has happened in their lives. And our lives are nothing like they were.
I love hearing those stories and I hear them all the time. It's true. We have what I found in the Year of Miracles program, we have over 5,000 people this past year. And I know next year will be even bigger, from 87 countries around the world. And there's this huge vortex of energy that we all feed into. And then you also have these small groups that are really focusing every day on each other's miracles. It's the power of the collective. There's been tremendous research. Lynn McTaggart's done research on the power of a group. And so it's not just our own energy that we need, that we can use. We can borrow the energy of the people around us to help what we call supercharge your miracle intentions. And I want to say one other thing, because I know we're at the end of a year, and always when we go into a new year, people set goals for themselves. And I think goals are great. But what I found is people often do them wrong. We set our intentions or our goals from what I call their ego-based intentions. Mm-hmm. And they come from a place of lack or scarcity or fear or contraction, and they don't feel good. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we guide people through is to create what's called miracle soul-based intentions that are really coming from a level that's aligned with your soul and your soul's purpose. And what we do is we walk you through a process to come up with your 3 soul-based miracle intentions for the year. And so what I want people to do is, as you're looking at your goals for the next year, I want you to think about, how does this make me feel? Does this make me feel contracted, or does this make me feel expanded? And I'll give you an example. Many people set a goal, something like, I want to lose 20 pounds this year. You think, I want to lose 20 pounds this year. It feels like a whole lot of work. It feels contracting. It feels heavy. Mm-hmm. Now, the same outcome, but with a soul, I call that kind of an ego-based intention. I want to lose 20 pounds because I want to look better so people think of me better. Let's change this intention into a soul-based intention, and see how this feels. I am fit and healthy and vital in a body that reflects my inner being. All of a sudden, instead of feeling contracted, that feels expansive. It feels, oh yes, it's an energetic vibration. And that's what we're talking about. It's a shift in an energetic vibration. Now, that's not the only thing that makes our intentions happen, but it's certainly a way to get started with setting our intentions in the right way, in the right energy. So I want everybody to look at the goals that you set for yourself this year and shift them from that feeling of contraction, from an ego-based intention, into a soul-based intention. And what we've done is we've really created a formula for putting ourselves more and more in that miracle zone. And Each month we focus on a different theme. So in January, we focus on living our miraculous dreams and our intentions. And in February, we focus on self-love. It's so important, as I spoke about self-love, feeling worthy of, can I receive all the good that's out there? And when we focus on letting go and creating space, and we focus on, a month is on success, a month is on money, a month is on health, a month on relationships. So every area of your life, every area of your life is in the miracle zone.
In purpose, everyone's talking about purpose.
Yeah.
It's a huge thing. So this is like such a great way to not only set your intentions for the first, but then have a system you can step into.
And you know what I've found is a weekend program, a week long, 6 weeks, they're nice, they're great, but they don't make the deeper shifts. And so what we do in this is it's a year so that you can actually start living and habituating living in a different way. It's not hard to do. It doesn't take a lot of time. It just takes some consistent baby steps.
Yeah. So Marci, if people do want to connect with you, how do they find you?
Well, here's what I would suggest. You can go to Miracles ebook, miracles with an S at the end, ebook.com, and you'll get our ebook, which is the 4 biggest mistakes that keep people from living a miraculous life. And we not only tell you the mistakes, we tell you what to do about them. And from that, you'll be able to see how to join Your Year of Miracles, which is at youryearofmiracles.com. And it's just a phenomenal, if you're ready to live your life in the miracle zone, in the way that you feel like you were put on this planet to live your life, it's really possible, then this is your year. I think this coming up year is going to be a really huge year for a lot of people to completely up-level their life and live in a very different way.
And we all are, aren't we?
We're ready for that.
We are ready.
We are.
So, yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, people often ask me if it's selfish. We've got the whole world to consider, and the whole world is suffering, and they are. And is it selfish to want to live my own life miraculously? And here's what I have to say to that. I believe it's the least selfish thing that you can do. Because when you are living in a more uplifted and better way, you're influencing everybody around you. You're becoming an inspiration and a light for the world. There's a beautiful Chinese proverb that says, when there is light in the soul, there will be beauty in the person. When there's beauty in the person, there will be harmony in the house. When there's harmony in the house, there will be order in the nation. And when there's order in the nation, there will be peace in this world. And my prayer and my wish for all of us is that we know that light in our own souls. And through that, we help create more peace here on this planet of ours that certainly needs more peace.
Oh, honey, with that, what a great way to finish up the year and to end the show with you. I'm so thankful you came back and you're sharing all these miracles with us and how we can continue to live in the miracle zone moving into the new year.
Thank you. I love all that you're doing and all that you're up to. So thank you all, and Happy New Year to everyone.
Yes. So everyone, thank you so much for being here. You can come join Smart Women's Empowerment by going to joinsmartwomen.com. And then you will also be invited to know who is going to be on our show and who our guests are, and get access to all the wonderful resources in the Smart Women's Academy. So until our next show, go out and live with more purpose, more passion, and prosperity. Smart Women Talk is brought to you by Smart Women's Empowerment, a 501c3 nonprofit project of United Charitable. Music by Bill Lucas from his album When It Rains. Available on Apple Music and Spotify. Catch us wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, and be sure to join our free community at joinsmartwomen.com to access all our free Smart Women resources.